Ramo Hare Hare. So if you can't hear it now, I have no idea why, because all the settings are properly set. So I'm going to chant, and if you can hear me, just let me know. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, you can hear. It's not going to sound as good as before because I have very good audio, but it's something. So we were when we left, when we got cut off, when electricity went out. It's interesting. The electricity has gone out, except it hasn't gone out there. Like that light has its own Shakti or something. Amazing. Life is amazing. Try to figure this out. Everything went out except one light. One. So all the other sockets went out except that one. Okay. I didn't go to electrical school, but it seems like that plug is on another line, and that line went out. And it's not, we're not even in India. This is even more amazing. We're in America. Okay, so we'll get to your questions in a minute. So we're talking about anarthas. I don't like them. They're ugly. Makes me feel bad. Makes me feel ashamed. Well, might as well get used to it, because these anarthas were carefully cultivated for many lifetimes. So now we want to get rid of them. How do you get rid of a habit that you've cultivated for years? Takes time, right? Yeah, so take your time. Be patient. Take your time, be patient, and just keep trucking away, as we say in America. See, here's the thing. The thing is, your anarthas don't have the power to stop you. You give them the power to stop you. So if you say, oh, I'm so this, I'm so that, now you're giving energy to that problem, and then that problem is getting worse. Whereas if you just think, okay, I have anarthas, but they're nothing. These are material things. Krishna consciousness is spiritual. It's more powerful. So these anarthas can't do anything. You have to think like that. And if you think like that, they're just whatever. They're just there, but not going to prevent you from being Krishna conscious. But if you focus on them, that's when you have the problem. Because then it's like by focusing on them, it's kind of like you empower them to affect you. I'm so this, I'm so that, and why should I even try? What's the use? I've tried before, that doesn't work. And, I don't have any determination. Anyway, I can't control my mind. And I'll never be humble. Come on, I'm so puffed up. And I'm so attached to my body. I get the right prasadam. And if I don't sleep enough, I go crazy. And on and on and on. So what are you thinking about? What are you thinking about? How bad the anarthas are. So then what happens? Then they start having a bad effect. Where you can try this experiment. If they come up, if you become conscious of them, just deal with it and move on. Like, okay, what am I going to do about it? And move on and do whatever it is you have to do about it. Then you'll be fine. And you'll realize If I have big anarthas, little anarthas, lots of them, not a lot, ultimately it's inconsequential if I focus on devotional service. So that's how you have to take it. It's not, it's not a big thing. Like, I just have this instinct that at some point in the future, cancer will be like, some kind of disease where you just take, medicine for a week or two and it goes away. Oh, the doctor says you got cancer, and you say, we'll just take this. You should be fine in a few weeks. Like, okay. And then, people heard, back in 2021, people used to die of cancer, but this is hundreds of years in the future, and like cancer is like, it's like a bad cold or something. You get some pain in your body and whatever. So, if we use that as scenario, as an example, then look at the anartha like a cancer. There's a pill for it. So I got cancer, take the pill. Should I stay back from work? No, go to work, no problem. You'll be fine. Okay. I have this anartha. Should I stop, chanting my rounds? Should I just give up? No. Just do devotional service. Just take 16 pills a day. Follow 4 principles. Yeah, it'll go away. Don't worry about it. It's not going to be a problem. That's how you have to see it. And to see it any other way is to give energy to it. Does that make sense? Okay, we have some more questions. Anandita has an interesting question. When we get offended, but the other person thinks they were not offensive, is it a sign that we are experiencing a state of imbalance because our values are not in alignment with the statement that we felt was offensive to us? It could be. Could be other reasons. Should we respect our emotions when we get offended? Well, you see, there's two things. One thing is to get offended, and one thing is to stay offended. So, sometimes we just get offended because, as I say, there can be many reasons. Some valid and some not valid. Some very personal sensitivities that are being offended, which if you didn't have those personal sensitivities, you wouldn't get offended. So that's there. So sometimes it just happens. You don't have any control of it. It just shows up. But then the point is, now what do you do once it's there? Do you try to resolve it, dissolve it, neutralize it, or do you act it out? So, okay, it's like this. I feel this way. I feel that I was offended. But do I want to act that way? Do I want to continue to feel that way? Will that help me, that feeling? Does it empower me? I'm sure you could say in some cases it does, but that would probably be the exception. So I think one of the easiest ways that I've ever discovered to overcome any kind of potential problem, such as upset, anger, speaking or doing the wrong thing, is just to clearly understand that whatever is happening to you, it's going to affect you based on how you process it. And sometimes we process things in a way that we actually drive ourselves crazy by how we look at that situation or by how much we dwell on it. So if you really want to be generous to yourself, then if you process things in a Krishna conscious way, it will give you tremendous pleasure and happiness. But if you process things in a negative way, then you have to suffer constantly because of that. How could they do that? That was so bad. And then you dwell on it, and and your righteous mind dwells on it. That was so unjust, this and that and the next thing. And the consequence is you suffer, and that suffering could have been prevented by you. Okay, I feel offended, but now let's work on it. Let's understand why. And let's try to neutralize it. Otherwise, I'm polluting myself. Okay, he said something or did something, and it did offend me, but do I want to pollute myself now by dwelling on it? And unless we practice reacting in a better way, we'll never understand how valuable it is to react properly. And we'll just go with our natural instincts, and then we'll stay with them. So it's kind of like, okay, let's use this example. Somebody says something to you, Anandita, and you get upset. And now you ask yourself the question, do I want to stay upset? Is it going to help me being upset? Is it going to disturb me if I remain upset? Like, what do I want to do? So, and knowing that you can decide. And I know for some of you are saying, I don't think I can decide. But knowing that you can, maybe you don't think you can do it now, but just know, and you have the potential to decide, or you have the freedom to decide how you want to progress with that. So I find that if you become aware of what I would call self-torture, if you become aware of how some of your responses to what's going on in the world are self-torturous, and you don't have to torture yourself, you don't want to torture, why would I want to torture myself that way? No, but you need to get back at him, Anandita. What he said was wrong. Get back at him. And you say, why do I want to dwell on this? Because you're right and he's wrong. Yeah, but to prove that I'm right, I have to go through hell and pollute myself and disturb myself. Why? I don't need to do that. That's the thought. And if you develop that consciousness, then it's possible you may not even get upset in the first place, because you become inclined not to being upset. It's a much better way to live, don't you think? Like if you had a choice to be upset or not be upset, and I said, well, which one would you be? You'd say, well, of course, I wouldn't be upset. Well, I just wanted to say you have the choice. And it's a better way to live. In materially, spiritually, emotionally, on every level, it's a better way to live. And if we're always reacting very negatively, it negatively impacts our health. It negatively impacts us psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually. So what value does it have? Even if you're right and they're wrong, but the consequence or the ramification of proving yourself right is that you dwell in hell for weeks and weeks of hatred and resentment towards this person. What's the point? The point is we're trying to purify ourselves. We didn't come into this world to prove that we're right and prove somebody wrong. We came into this world to purify ourselves. So this is just Maya's trick, to distract you and get your consciousness off of Krishna by upsetting you by what someone says and does. Now, the other thing I would say, Nandita, is if we take something personally or we take this as offensive, then another thing we have to ask ourselves is, was it really offensive, or was I just taking offense? Would another person be offended by this very statement? That question should be asked. Would another person be offended by this statement? That's an interesting question. And if I weren't offended by this statement, how would that impact my life? Would I lose out? You'll say, well, he has to be stopped. You don't have to be offended to stop him. And we think, no, if I'm not angry, I won't do anything. No, that's not true. If you have a sense of justice, right and wrong, you'll do what's necessary to resolve the situation. Right? Of course you will. You don't have to be angry to do it. It's better you're not angry. So, this is important. This is basic. Okay, but the last thing I want to say, Nandita, is that if you're ever offended by someone, ask yourself, why? Why was I offended? Well, I was expecting him to do A and he did B, or he didn't do A, he didn't do anything. Okay, that wasn't good, that wasn't right, but why? Everyone can say, that was wrong, but not everyone will be offended. So why specifically am I getting offended by that behavior, where everybody says it's wrong, but not everyone else is offended when that person treats them that way? There's a reason. You want to discover that reason. Well, he said he was going to do this, but he didn't, and that's why I'm offended. Well, I know he said he wasn't going to do this and he did it, but I'm not offended. So why you, not me? You have some issue with trust and betrayal? Well, actually I do, yeah, because, well, what happened? Well, I had this relationship and he ran off with another woman, so, okay, all right. So now we know why you're sensitive. Maybe he didn't do anything wrong. It just triggered a past memory or an emotional experience that's still in your body, and that's how you reacted. So a lot of times you might say, well, this is all a bunch of psychology, blah, blah, blah. Most of the time, or many times, that's why we're reacting. Especially if another person's in the same situation and they're not reacting, then there's some specific sensitivity that I have that's reacting to the situation. And that's why I'm upset. And it's good to know that. Because then you ask yourself, okay, what is the sensitivity? You pinpoint it. Why does it exist? Can I do something to detach, to heal, to transcend, to destroy it in some way, so that in my future encounters with people, it's not going to come up? Because if you have a trust issue and you got upset because a person promised something and he didn't deliver, probably means every time that happens with anybody, you're going to get upset. Wouldn't it be nice to work through it so that when people don't promise what they promised, you won't get upset? Yeah, it would be better, wouldn't it? Materially, emotionally, physically, intellectually, spiritually, ego-wise, consciousness-wise, every level it would be better, wouldn't it? Of course it would. So when you think that way and you feel like, I want to retaliate, this kind of thinking can just like hit a wall, stop, and it's like, well, why? You just, this is a waste of time. I've done it before. It takes me down a dark path. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of my consciousness. It's a waste of space in my heart. I could put something better. So you want to put this person in your heart now and throw arrows at them? Is that what you want to do? I don't think you want to do that, but you have to think like that to understand. If I take this to its logical conclusion and I feel offended and I respond, then I'm going to shoot arrows. I'm going to put this person in my heart and shoot arrows at him. So then Anandita says, well, but what if I feel like this? Okay, feel it and work on it and don't do anything, and then work to let it go. And I think some of the best advice I can give you, and all of you, is when you have that feeling, whatever it is, let's say, we'll use the example of betrayal. So let's say you have the feeling of betrayal. Okay. Forget the person who betrayed you and just focus on the emotion of betrayal and purifying it. Because when you get rid of the person and you realize it's an issue I have of betrayal, the person is not part of this anymore. They just activated it. That's the issue. Forget the person, work on the issue. It's very easy. Because then you don't have to deal with the person. It's a lot easier. Does that make sense? Get rid of the person. Just work on the issue. That's the problem. Right? I pronounced her name perfectly. Christe's name perfectly. That's because I must have been Lithuanian in one lifetime. Okay, Marco's question. Or statement. Does the fact of serving and satisfying advanced devotees and thus receiving their blessings, thereby making spiritual advancement, depend on past pious activities or sukriti, or is it special mercy of Krishna? It depends on you, Marco. Well, of course, the mercy of Krishna, that you get their association, and it's the mercy you give yourself if you take advantage of it. How to interpret the fact that some people who apparently have no qualification make rapid progress? and are naturally brought into the service of devotees, while others who have been dedicated to sadhana for many years remain still stuck? Oh, that's a complicated question. Is it a question of how sincere we are? Could be. Is it a matter of luck? No. Or there's no luck. We're all dealing with past karma. The best way to answer this question is to ask another question. If I feel the way you describe, even in the Association of Advanced Devotees, then what should I do about it? How do I deal with it? That's the question. Because as soon as you make an assumption, well, it must be that I have bad samskars or bad karma or whatever, then if that's your conclusion, why would you try? And my thinking on this is, if I hit a dead end, then I think, well, how are we going to get around the wall? Do we go right, left, then go up a block and turn around? Rather than thinking, oh, a wall, I have such bad luck. Everywhere I go, walls just come up. What sin did I do in my last life? I must have knocked down a wall. Now the wall is chasing me. Don't think like that. That's not the proper attitude. The attitude is, I need the association of the devotees. I need to take advantage of Krishna consciousness. And if it's hard, if there are walls in the way, I need to figure out how to get around them. That's all you need to think. Any other thinking like this, why? Maybe I was impious. Maybe he's more pious. Maybe he did devotional service. Maybe in my last life I killed somebody and now I have to... No. Prabhupada never explained it that way. Philosophically, you could say, yeah, your past samskars, karma makes it hard for you. Yeah, that's a philosophical point. We could say that. But Prabhupada, when asked these questions, it was always just come down to be intelligent and take the association, take advantage of it. That's how he wanted us to understand it. And I think that's the most practical, progressive way to understand it. Why doesn't he take and he takes but I don't take? Just take it. Don't even worry. Just start taking it. That's the right answer. So we have a comment. Is this from you, Anuradha, or somebody else? I feel so inspired for the way you treat others, and when I am dealing with other devotees, I always think, what will my Guru Maharaj do in this situation? Once in Bhagavatam class, a devotee asked, how can we be kind with everyone even if we don't feel like it? Maybe following the footsteps. You can eat what I eat also, following the footsteps of our gurus. Yeah. Because, what's so good about example is example shows other people how to act, and it shows other people it's possible to act that way. And, it gives us encouragement that if I become Krishna conscious, then I can act that way also. We should be kind when we don't feel like it. We should always be kind. So that's the key, how can I do it when I don't feel like it? Because I do it because I know this is what I am supposed to do. This is what I'm supposed to be as a devotee. So even, it's like getting up this morning, it was like 34 degrees in the morning, something like that. We go to the temple and we have to leave the doors open. So, I go to bed like 10 o'clock, 10-ish, a little after 10. Alarm goes off at 4. My body could definitely sleep more than 6 hours, no problem. Not always, but generally it can sleep more than 6. Like after 6 is enough, almost. Not enough that I may not fall asleep during japa, but it's enough to basically function, at least for a while. But my body really says, you really could use more, right? Okay, so last night I went, sometimes I'm lucky, I go to bed earlier. Last night I went to bed at 10. And I got up at 4, and I knew it was about 34 degrees outside, which is, in centigrade, it's like 1 degree. And the temple doors are going to be open. And it's kind of cold. Like, and the house is kind of warm. So, how do I feel? I feel like, it would be a lot easier to just stay home. If I stay home, maybe I could catch another half hour of rest. I'd be a little better off in the day. But that's just a feeling, Anandita. And then I think of Prabhupada saying, you should go to Mangalarti. And I get out of bed, and I get ready. And I don't take a warm shower. I use cool water. Because I'm one cool Prabhu, right? I'm a cool Prabhu because I use cool water in the morning. So that's how it works. I feel so many things, but what's the right thing to do? So we want to train ourselves that way. And I know for a lot of us, we're not trained that way. We're trained to do what we feel like doing. That's what we've always done our whole life. And especially Americans, they hate to be restricted. This is what I want to do, don't restrict me. We've had a lot of trouble in America restricting people, and they don't like it. Why do I have to wear a mask? Why can't I just go out and do this and that? I'm tired of staying home. Some other countries, you won't have that problem. They do it. They're a little more disciplined by culture. So many of us, we're not used to restricting our feelings and then rising above them with proper actions. But sometimes that's just all you can do. I feel, what I feel like telling you, Prabhu, right now. I don't say that. It's going on in my head, and then I say, no, I must behave the way Prabhupada would want me to. That's what I must do. So even though I was offended, upset, I'm feeling angry, or whatever I'm feeling, I don't respond that way. I act properly. So that's the idea. So beautiful, sister. You reminded me how yesterday I thought that Guru Maharaj takes care of all of us like children, and we all vibrate that love outwards and enthusiastically serving in the team, dreaming bigger every single day. Guru Maharaj, you preach by example, and all of it's hard to read this. It's about me. And all of us reciprocate by coexisting as a big united family, embracing the whole globe. With a reflection of your love. Well, I definitely am conscious that what I do is an example, and especially what I do is what I want you to do, and I don't want you to think only I can do it. Yeah, that's all I'll say. Thank you for that. Whoever wrote that, I don't know. It doesn't say. Or maybe that was Christy. Okay, everyone, it's time to wake up. We have a controversial question from the one and only Krishna Karshana. Who else would ask such controversial questions? Keep the flow and the interest. As soon as Krishna Karshana asks her controversial question, we get 10 more questions, and we have to stay here an extra half hour. Okay, a controversial question with 7 minutes left. I don't know how it's going to work out. At the beginning of Krishna consciousness, we see our gurus as perfect in everything. But in due course of time, especially often when we're close, we're starting to see that our guru is not Alpha and Omega in all areas of life. Sometimes he is making mistakes. You mean materially making mistakes. How to process it when we see our guru making a mistake. How to understand it. How to not start to offend. By the way, Guru Maharaj, I'm not talking about you. Yeah, I know you weren't talking about me because I don't make any mistakes. I knew it had to be another guru. Yeah, well, there's different ways to answer this question. I remember sometimes Prabhupada would quote a verse, but it was actually two verses. And he was taking one line from one verse and one line from another verse. And he got it mixed up. So that's a mistake. My Guru Maharaj got a verse mixed up. Or he'd be quoting a verse and he would say, what is that verse? He'd forget. My Guru Maharaj forgot. Mistake. So, does that mean he's not a pure devotee? No. Prabhupada would try different preaching strategies, and some would work and some wouldn't, and sometimes he'd say, stop this program, it's not working, or now we want to do a new program. And they asked Prabhupada, why, you're telling this us? You're like, why didn't you just tell us all of this 5 years ago? Now it's like evolving. He said, because Krishna hadn't revealed it to me 5 years ago. He said Krishna's revealing, and kind of the way I understood it, Krishna's revealing in real time what to do next. Isn't that funny? So that is not a cause for disrespecting, especially if the Guru is acknowledging, I'm not materially perfect, I can make mistakes. If you believe specifically something's going to affect your service, and your Guru has told you to do something that you think is improper, then you express that to him. Say, I don't think this is right. If it's a philosophical point, then this is really difficult. Because we're living in a multi-guru society, so you may hear a class by your guru saying one thing and a class by another guru or another senior devotee saying another thing, and you may like the other thing better than what your guru said. You may want to talk to him about it. I believe women should be guru, my guru doesn't. I don't believe women should be guru, my guru does. I disagree with him on that. Talk to him about it. It's not, you're my guru, you're absolute, I'm supposed to follow you. But at the same time, we want to cultivate more of a family atmosphere. That a lot of decisions we come to in ISKCON are made after many, many years of discussion by many, many devotees, and then sometimes the guru will change his mind. So those are things we have to maturely take into consideration. The main thing is to maintain one's respect and service attitude towards the Guru. And generally, the Guru is not going to be making mistakes, 100 mistakes a day. Like, how can I accept him? He makes 100. It's not like that. But it's not the Guru's job qualification to be perfect materially. That's not. But his qualification is that people who come in his presence become devotees. That's his main qualification. So then you might say, but I don't have access to my Guru to ask him these questions. Then ask somebody else that you have access to. What about this? My Guru made a mistake. How should I think about it? That's the best I can do for now. It doesn't circuit breaker, I think so. But why circuit breaker? There's like no lightning or anything. Old building. Almost 20 years old. Okay. Your anarthas don't have the power to stop you. Give them the power. To stop you. Don't give them the power to stop you. You give them the power. That's it. Anandita, can you email that to me? Then I can do a daily video on that. I don't have a paper here with me to write it down. Would that be okay? Your anarthas don't have the... All of you should do that. If I say anything that you think would be a good topic for a daily video, then send it to me. Because I know There's a lot of good things that come up in these classes. I don't note them and I don't remember them. And when you send it to me, what would really help is explain a little of what I said so I remember it. Because if I finally do the video 2 weeks from now, I'm like, what was I saying? What was the context? I forget. So if you give me some context, a few other things I said. I like that. Your anarthas don't have the power to stop you. You give them the power to stop. That's great. We could give a whole workshop just on that idea. So then so we would follow up this statement and ask all of you, well, what are you giving anarthas power to stop you? If so, which ones? Then, it's always an interesting question to ask why. If I'm doing something that's not Krishna conscious, like, why am I doing that? It's a good question. Sadirupa says, I read something by a Prabhupada disciple that Prabhupada said his Guru Maharaj wrote his books only for Prabhupada. He did not want his disciples to understand his books. So he wrote the difficult language. Prabhupada said this in response to a devotee who wanted to read books from the Gaudiya Math. I never heard that before. We were always told he wrote in a sophisticated language to attract sophisticated people, scholars and so forth. I mean, his language is difficult even for someone whose English is their first language. So I don't know if you can send me that reference. I've never heard that, doesn't. It's not what we've heard, the reasons that he wrote that way. At least from his disciples. That's how they explained it. Coaches are saying, this is Krishna question, we should not believe in every thought we have. I believe it's relating to feeling offended also. Don't believe in everything you feel. Most cases, it's just our interpretation of what happened. Some other person in the same situation will feel offended. Yeah. Did I say that or you say that? We both say that. Abhi Krishna says, you said that when we are not thinking about Krishna, it's better to think about nothing rather than thinking about anything else. But when we are engaged in our materialistic duties, unknowingly our mind deviates away. Maybe it's dealing with difficult people and all the stress from work makes us feel and think this way. It feels like I'm back at square one. That's why Buddhism is so popular. Stop thinking. How to not feel this way, and how we stay immune from all this. All this means dealing with difficult people. All this. I can't explain much now because we're ending class, but everything is about how you process it. Because it's just coming to you, and it's coming to me, it's coming to him, it's coming to her, and we're all processing it. So it's like what's your processing chip doing to what's coming in? Is it just magnifying the problem, magnifying your anger, magnifying your stress, or does it process it in a way that you can it can create compassion in you, it can create empathy in you, it can create presence in you so that you deal with it in a better way? Because a lot of what you're describing is it's an angry response to a situation or a stressful response. And if you add compassion to the equation, it could neutralize all those problems. So why don't we just leave it at that for now and try that out and let me know how it goes. More understanding of people, more kindness, more compassion, understanding their struggles and so forth, and see if that helps. The teacher says, I think everyone has that very switch that triggers such sensitivity. It's very important to observe what that switch is, because it is most likely what is needed to be healed. Yeah. It's really easy to know, because all you have to do is ask, what happened? Why did I get upset? And he said, well, because he didn't understand me, or because he wasn't loyal, Or because he didn't do what I expected. Well, what did you expect? So these things. Well, what did you expect? Or was it betrayal? Was it this or that? That's the issue. For the very thing. So why did you get upset? Because he did this. Well, how did that make you feel? Well, I felt this way. That's the sensitivity, whatever that feeling was. Well, I felt betrayed. I felt misunderstood. I felt abused. Oh, so you have an issue around abuse. I felt rejected. You have an issue around rejection. Hello? Yes, you do. Because he didn't feel rejected. She didn't feel rejected. He felt offended. And she felt betrayed. Oh, I think we all have different issues. Yeah. So that's, if you learn that and you understand that, then you won't allow that issue to enter the equation in the future. And when it does, you realize, oh, that's why I feel this way. It's because I have this need to be understood, and people don't understand me. I just get really upset. I'm like, well, let's figure out why. What's going on here, and let's deal with that. Because I don't want to get upset. It's not. I didn't come into the Krishna conscious movement so I can get upset at people at the office. It's not what I'm learning from Bhagavad Gita at all. Bhagavad Gita is teaching me I can go to the office where people are being killed and I cannot be stressed out. So I'm sure your office isn't that as bad as a battlefield. The mercy of Chaitanya Maha, Nityananda, and that of Prabhupada is our true fortune. We just have to take all the mercy we can. Take advantage of it. Give it. You read the comments correctly. The name of the author of the comment was above the comment. Yeah. Thank you. Marco says, it may not be easy, but if we identify with the best version of ourselves, when we are offended and leave out the part of us that would be offended, our pride, our historical selves, we could respond constructively and positively and instructively, preserving us from poisoning emotions and also helping others. You know, another thing to answer this question is, how does your behavior affect other people? Because I think that's really important. A lot of times we can control behavior when we understand how it affects other people. I feel like acting this way, but it's going to hurt other people. I won't do it. Compassion again. It's so powerful. And we have 2 more questions. Should we complain to our Guru Maharaj if another devotee really hurts us? No. Or we have to keep this and overcome it in our way? And he's already taught you how to do that. Is it correct to tell our Guru that another one of his disciples is not acting correctly, or he has to find by himself? It depends. It's not a problem if he agrees with you, or you're just asking, just wanting to inform you that this disciple is creating havoc in the yatra, and, if you could help him, something like that. That may be, if it's practical. But first you should try to help. Krishna, Cont wants to know, can I pray to Krishna to forgive my offenses? No. Pray to the devotee you offended to forgive your offenses. Pray to the holy name to forgive your offenses. Pray to the deity, pray to the depends who you offended, what you offended. Pray to that very object you offended, or person. That's how you do it. Okay, I'm going to go. I think I'm actually supposed to meet somebody, maybe, soon. But I think it was all good. We learned something. How to react. Right? You have an Anandita. Have like Krishna or somebody was saying, when an advanced devotee sets an example, then we're supposed to act that way. Think of some advanced devotee whose example you respect and honor, and you want to be like that. And then when those things happen, just think, well, what would they do? How would they react? And you'll be good. Okay, Hare Krishna to everyone. We will see you later. Go Premanandi!